Hello, guys, and welcome to Matt Stories. Our first story of the day is Boss told me I had to clock out anytime I left the till, so I did, every single time. I used to work retail for a manager who thought customer service meant chaining me to the register. One day he tells me I've been leaving the till too often, and by too often he meant grabbing change from the safe, getting a roll of bags, even walking 5 feet to throw out trash. His new rule: if you step away from the register even for a second, you must clock out. Alright then. Next shift, I took him literally. At 9:10 a.m., a customer drops a jar that smashes near the counter. I clock out, grab the paper towel, clean it, clocks back at 9:16. 9:40, receipt printer jams. Clock out, walk 3 feet to maintenance, get the roll, clock back in at 9:47. 10:05, customer wants coins for the parking meter. Clock out, walk to the safe, get change, clock back in at 10:13. 10:42, I need to grab a bag of quarters for the till. Clock out, 20 steps to the office, clock back in at 10:50. 11:15, someone asks me to check if we have larger bags. Clock out, grab them literally. Clock out, grab them from literally the shelf behind me. Clock back in at 11:18. By the end of the day, my time card showed I'd left work 13 times. It added up to nearly 2 hours of unpaid breaks, all for basic stuff I was supposed to do. Payroll flagged it, HR called me in, and I showed them the email from my boss laying out the rule in black and white. Next thing I know is the one being chewed out. The rule vanished overnight, and magically we were trusted to use common sense again. Now for our second story. It will be faster if you don't use a search engine. Like so many others, my company bought heavily into the whole AI first thing. We're so committed to it that we are underbidding projects with the hope that AI will save so much on labor that we'll still turn a profit. Needless to say, this means pushing everyone into using AI as heavily as possible, even to the point where we are supposed to use AI instead of web searches. And as a programmer, I do a lot of web searching. You'd be forgiven if you thought I regularly do the same kinds of things day in and day out. But if I have to do something more than once, I stick it in a code library and just reuse that. It's a rare day that I spend more time typing than reading. For programmers, AI is built into our tools. The idea is that you want the AI to have as much context as possible, and by including it in the tools, it will automatically upload all of my open tabs into the AI engine along with my questions. But here's the thing I didn't realize at first. One of those tabs is an 82 megabyte code file containing all of the instructions to build a database from scratch. So with each question, it is uploading that whole file to Microsoft's AI servers. And those servers have to crunch through the file before even starting on my question, which explains why I have to wait 6 minutes before the AI gives me to the wrong answer instead of 1 second for Google to give me a different wrong answer. I'd love to tell you about the fallout, about how the company freaked out when they learned how many AI tokens I was burning through. But this is just increasing my engagements, so the only immediate effect is that I stopped getting "you aren't using AI enough" emails. Oh, and don't worry about my project being late because of this. The bottleneck is, as always, waiting on the customer to decide what they want, so I'm still spending most of my day reading books and wasting time on Reddit. On to our next story. Manager said I was useless at my job. Showed him exactly why. At the time, I was working in a toy shop, and it was coming up to Christmas, so you can imagine how busy we were. No, busier than that. Each worker was given a specific section of the store to keep tidy and stocked. Mine at the time was what we called boys' toys, all the action figures and so on. However, I was also the only person other than managers who could process refunds, exchanges, and so on. And because Boys Toys was right beside the tills, and the managers could be anywhere, no radios, the cashiers got into the habit of calling me for help. And it being nearly Christmas, there were a lot of exchanges, refunds, and other things needing my intervention. Our store was franchised, and we had a district manager, D, because he was kind of a D, and also his name starts with D. who had never worked the floor a day in his life. He had some kind of business degree. He visited a few weeks before Christmas, came into Boys Toys an hour or so before closing, and got mad because I was messy and there were some gaps in the shelves. He refused to listen to my attempted explanations and stormed off. Next morning, he was right there at opening time. When we had our pre start meeting where the sections were assigned, he interrupted our manager to say, "I'm putting myself with OP today. She clearly doesn't know how to handle this section, so I'm going to show her what's what." There was an awkward silence for a moment before manager went on with assignments. I kept perfectly silent. D trailed me to Boys Toys and looked around. "Well, what's first? Or don't you have a plan?" "Well, first I usually. Oh, sorry. That's the Tills calling for help. I'll be back in a minute." Dealt with the Tills, returned, and got halfway through explaining the first job and was called away again. By the time I got back, it was 15 minutes into shift and he hadn't done any work yet. I have to give it to him. He stuck with it all day. I finally managed to show him what we were doing, and he schlepped up to the stockroom and down to the shelves half a dozen times. Tidied the same set of shelves because kids loved throwing things all over the floor, and watched as I was called away an average of 5 times an hour. I didn't usually keep track, but you bet your ass I did that day. He took his lunch when I did, 10 minutes late because of refund. He didn't apologize, of course. I was too lowly for that. But the next morning, at the opening meeting, my manager announced that from now on, Boys Toys would have 2 staff as a matter of course, and that the managers would make an effort to be more available to the tills. TLDR, district manager thinks I'm being lazy, arranges to show me what to do, realizes it's because I'm doing too much of the manager's job and not enough of my own. And now to our last story of the day. Don't want to play? No problem. I've worked in computer security for a very long time. A security policy that I'm sure most of the audience here is familiar with is that you always lock your computer when you walk away. Even if you are an accountant or receptionist, you just can't leave your machine unlocked forever. About 10 years ago, my team would have fun with this. If you ran to the bathroom or even had a conversation with your back turned, someone would sneak up to your computer and jump on the chat client or even email and say something silly or stupid like, "Does anyone know the meaning of life?" or some other random thing. A lot of the teams would do this, and it was mostly harmless, but also was supposed to shame you into remember to lock your computer before you walked away, without reporting you to security for your formal reprimand. Everyone knew it was good-natured, and when the message went out, everyone had a good laugh. One day, a new guy shows up and he leaves his computer unattended. I introduce myself, shake his hands, chat him up a bit, and finally tell him he needs to lock his computer when he walks away. He probably ignored that in the training, but it's a big deal. Send him the documentation because he thinks it's stupid. Again, we are in the security umbrella. He says, "Whatever." I shrug, walk away, and he walks away making a show of not locking his computer. He got multiple warnings over his first few weeks from the team and other, but was a complete butt about it. After a while, the team decides he's had enough warnings and started being granted access to sensitive stuff, and so he was fair game. Not long after, I walked by him on his way to the elevator atrium, so I knew he's going to be gone for a while. I sit down, find his email client, and type out a silly message to his team's TL and hit send. As I'm standing up, he's walking back. He finds me and demands to know what I was doing. I shrug, say, "Whatever," and walk away. Later that day, his manager walks up and tells me that he explained the situation to his new employee, and that the new guy didn't want to play that game and was considering reporting me to security for impersonating him. Really? Okay. No problem, Mr. Manager. We were on very good terms. We will not play the game with your newbie. I will follow standard procedures. I got my team and a few others in chat to tell them that under no circumstances should anybody fire a message from him when they saw his computer unlocked. No shame reminders for newbie. Just follow the standard procedure. Almost 50 security violations tickets were logged in the next 2 days. His desk happened to be closer to the elevator atrium, break room, and bathroom, so a lot of normal traffic. He was in security retraining the following Monday. We were in an open floor plan, and I could see how mad he was talking to his manager and gesturing in my direction quite a bit. Not my fault, I had only opened 2 tickets. His manager asked me to let up. Sorry, just following standard procedure. If I don't report these violations, I'm liable. Dude's computer was locked for the rest of that Monday only. The following day, as I walked by, there was his email for all eyes to see and newbie nowhere to be found. He happened to be getting coffee, which was my destination as well, and I noticed he forgot to lock his computer. He cussed me out and speed walked back. The damage was done. He'd already had a dozen tickets opened by others, and the security policy had changed at some points. Now it was a quick retraining, then straight up to disciplinary action, no write up. He had to attend a meeting with his boss, director, and some security folks. I would find out much later that he got put on security related PIP. He was gone in a week. No one was out to ruin anyone's career here, but if you want to work in security and flagrantly violate policy because I don't know why, well, you don't belong here. Well, guys, thank you for listening for today. These are our stories. If you want, leave a commentary, a like, and please subscribe. See you next time.